Okay, guys, it's getting late, so let's burst through this tier list that we've been talking about and not doing for a while now. Hero tier list. Yes, yes, yes. Go away, Ras. And we'll call this a ML PVE tier list. I guess the big question we've got right now, guys, right, is do we consider Arena and Guild Wars PVE or PvP? What do you think? Do we consider Arena and Guild Wars PvP or PvE? See, already, the first two comments, one says PvE, one says PvP. There's contention on it, right? How about we just do this? We just have a separate column for it. Then we got SABC for everything else. That sound fair? That'll let people look at it both ways. If they don't consider Arena or Guild Wars as PvE, then they just look at the bottom 4 rows. And if they do, then they can look at the top row too. So let's filter. Let's look at only light and dark and only 5 and 4 stars. I'm not going to bother with 3 stars. Oh my gosh. So I think, is there a place in PvE where we use Yufine? The only place I can think of is she is really good at fighting the Devourer Arahakan. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, Devourer Arahakan, she's really good there, but she's wholly replaceable by a half dozen other units, right? From Landy to Zerato, to, there's a lot of units that could go in her place. But her main thrust is... I can't spell Arena. I still can't spell Arena. Her main thrust is Arena Guild Wars, right? But we'll give her a shout out, right? We'll give her a shout out for her use in Nightmare Raid. You use her in A13, I can see that. He is only usable on a very specific cheese for fighting Nightmare Raid, Queen, and that is pretty much it. Anybody else got another use for our Lord Ainz Ulgon in PvE? Oh, and to be clear, let's just spell this out. I hate the SABC, right? This is, top PvE uses. Solid and diverse uses. This is niche uses. This is not a damn thing. Clear? Ambitious Tywin is really only used in Guild Wars and Arena. Now, some say, oh, but you can use them to, you know, some floors of Abyss where you're dealing with debuffs, and yeah, those are some... He would go down here beside, if you don't consider good in Arena or Guild Wars as a thing, then he would go down here under niche uses. Apoc Ravi. Not a damn thing you can do with Apoc Ravi in PvE. She's strictly a PvP unit. Outside of, like, she can carry you through some fights because she can bring you back from the dead and she can bruise. That's really early game stuff, but no, not really. Not really using her. Arby's got some niche uses in the sense that he is a good farming unit. I would have put him up here as the premier farming unit, except that Free Spirit Tieria kind of took most of his jobs. Hey, Skate! Thank you so much for the sub, buddy. I appreciate it. Niche as in good niche or bad niche? Niche as in the 1 or 2 places where they're good, they're really good, but it's only 1 or 2 places, and you would probably want to focus on units that are viable in more places than just the occasional niche spots that these ones are good in, right? Archdemon Shadow, not a damn use for her in PvE. Architect Laika, not a damn use for her in PvE. Astromancer Elena. Is there anywhere where counters are a problem in PvE? Because I can't think of any. Possibly, maybe like there's an Abyss floor that that's not jumping in my head where you get, you know, constantly countered, and having that shut off would be nice, but I'm thinking that she is not usable at all. Belian is a defense unit. You'll almost never use her on offense, but if you've got a Guild War defense or arena defense, yeah, she's really, really good there. Haste, Haste is really good on some Guild War defenses, but that's about it. In a post-Tarcetti meta, we're not seeing as much of him, but his PvE uses, he does have the one niche of being a safety net. Any unit that can bring your whole ass team back to life, as well as be a healer and a damage dealer, is pretty good, but so niche as to not even be considered, right? I think he's Guild War only. Briar with Iseria, there was a time when she was up here. There was a time when having her on your team meant that Vera couldn't rehatch the eggs, meant that monsters couldn't bring back the adds when they pushed phases, meant that on one fight where the mushrooms exploded in the Abyss, the mushrooms never came back again. But that has all been patched, and that dropped her PvE usage down to nothing. She's pretty good on some offenses, but that's pretty much it. Charles has a very, very small niche use, only slightly better niche use than Ainz in, not even, you know, slightly worse than Ainz. He's really good in A13, and that's it. Commander Pavel is a, I'm gonna put him at the front of niche uses because his job is being a cleanup to combine with Tieria or Arby. And that's pretty much it for just doing rapid, fast farming. Conqueror Lilias. There was a time when she was here. But now I think she's just down here. Having a unit that can give vigor to your entire team and dual attack randomly is fan-freaking-tastic. She's really, really good in Wyvern. She's good on a lot of Abyss floors. She used to be the queen of Hall of Trials, but they've redone Hall of Trials now, and now she doesn't see any use there anymore because Hall of Trials says you can't dual attack anymore. So, that's dropped her down to just a solid diverse unit, I think. Dark Corvus is only a Guild War unit. He's not used anywhere else. Death Dealer Ray has no uses down here, so he's just a Guild War and arena unit. Desert Jewel Basar. I can't think of anything you would use Desert Jewel Basar for in PvE. Other than the occasional niche Abyss floor where you might need the cleanse and the push and the healing, but that's so niche as to not even be considered a niche use. It's like a one and done kind of niche thing, right? Designer Lilibet, same thing. She's just an offensive version, a damage version of DJ Basar. Senya. If you have her, she's on your defense somewhere, either in Guild Wars or Arena. She's like the strongest, one of the strongest ML5s in the game right now. So, yeah. Dragon King Sharun. While a very strong unit to counter this guy, that's pretty much it. And if I'm not going to put these units to counter this guy, I'm not going to put this unit to counter this guy. These guys. So yeah, nope. Ilynav's a defense unit and an offense unit for Guild Wars and Arena, but doesn't have any uses outside of it. Ludwig is a pretty strong unit if you can build him for Guild War offense, but that's pretty much it. Faithless Lidica is not really used anywhere. She can be used for fighting the Queen, but there's so many easier ways to do it with easier builds. Fallen Cecilia is not usable. Harsetti is a defense unit. Judge Kisei. It's very hard to build for new players, and by the time you get to the point where you can build her, you've just got better options. Last Rider Crow. We'll have to see if after his buff this changes, but for right now, I don't think he's got any PvE uses. Lionheart Cermia, I'm going to put her... She can solo Katie's 13. Does Lionheart Cermia have any uses other than soloing Katie's 13? Labyrinth. You're right. She's really, really good against Nightmare Queen. So, since she's got more than one use, we'll put her up here in diverse uses. Little Queen Charlotte is not a real unit in PvE. Bellona is a very solid unit in PvE, I think. You can use her in Nightmare Raid, any fight where you've got a lot of incoming damage, a lot of Abyss floors. She's even a component of some auto teams. I think she's definitely a solid unit. I would be remiss if I didn't put Maid in the niche uses, because in PvE, a lot of times survival is important, and any unit that lets you bring your entire team back to life, give them all attack buff, give the living units raise buff, cleanses all debuffs, and can stun on her S3 40% or S1 40% of the time. You're going to find uses for that. Though she is not going to see common use in things like you know, Banshee 13 or anything like that. I think as you're pushing through Abyss, as new content comes out, she's a good reach for unit. This one's tricky. Mort could totally change and throw this guy down here. But right now, I think he's still pretty good for Guild Wars and for Arena. Mediator Kawerik is one of the better PvE units. Full cleanse, CR pushing, strip, attack down, tankiness, immunity, attack buff. It's a Soul Weaver in a warrior's kit with access to warrior artifacts. Every time new PvE comes out, the only time you don't see this guy in play is when we've got Laia available. I think he is ahead of Lilias. We'll see if I move these two up or not, but him and Lilias are kind of tied, I think, for high end right now. Landy is just used everywhere. If you get Landy, you build her. She's used in Guild Wars, she's used in Arena, she is used in Labyrinth, she can be used to solo auto tower, she can be used in Abyss floors. Powerhouse unit. Luna's a Guild War Arena unit. She doesn't really have any use outside of Guild War Arena. Sigrid, it's not a real unit. Captain Flan had a chance. She had a chance, but she's garbage now. And Remnant Violet is very, very hard to use. Requiem Roana. One could argue she's a defense unit, but her defense is so niche. I don't know. I guess we'll just put her at the back of the list. We'll put her near the front of the list, right? We're going to organize these a little bit. I guess we should get real with organization. That feels a little better with organization. Ruel's getting a buff. For right now, she's right beside Maid in the sense that having a unit that can safety net and raise you is very, very useful. Sage Ball is counter cleave and nobody cleaves anymore, so Ball's kind of out of a job. See Phantom Politis. We'll put her ahead of Conqueror Lilias because she does give a boosting skill up like Vigor, but hers is Rage. Rage activates Tywin. But being able to dual attack with the highest attack unit on the team gives her some uses inside of PvE. Silverblade Aramentha. Currently here. Post buff might be here. But we're running this based on current, not post buff. So for right now down here, but I do think we're going to see her on defenses coming up. I think she is going to be basically right here beside DDR, maybe even ahead of DDR after the balance patch. I think this is what's going to look like after the balance patch, but we don't know for sure until the balance patch happens, so we're just going off of what's known, and what's known is this. Solitaria really doesn't have many uses in PvE. Can anybody give me a good Solitaria use in PvE? Because I can't really think of one. She's nice on Guild War offense, but even that's kind of niche. And if I'm going to put it up here, they got to be solid, you know, defense or solid offense use. Yeah, she's really cute. We'll put her down here pretty close to the front. Sez is not really a usable unit. I mean, Sez and Soli together can do some things, but yeah. Spectre Tenebria, most important PvE unit in the game, bar none. If you look at if you Google Abyss floor random number, one of the teams on the YouTube feed is going to have Spectre Tenebria on it. She's still the queen of PvE. Stretch. Thanks for the stretch. Celine. I don't think she's a usable unit. I know she brings everybody back from the dead like these two do, so maybe you could find some uses for her, but I just can't think of any right off the bat where she would be a better pickup than these two. Oh, wow. How the Mighty Have Fallen used to be the most important hunt unit because you could one-shot hunts. You could one-shot all the hunts with strays. He was a monster, but then something happened. Rift came out, and Strays is terrible in Rift. Like, as in, he can't even be selected because he's an ML unit, so you can't even use him in Rift, and Rift is just better than Hunts in every way. And if you have the gear to make a Strays that can one-shot things, then why are you even doing Hunts? Why aren't you just gearing for Rift? Now, when Rift goes away, and we're in between seasons, and all you have is Hunts, his value shoots back up. But I'm going to put him down here in niche uses, because his niche use is if you can build him and you have a reason to farm hunts, and you aren't just going to use quick battle or background battling, and you're wanting to crank out hunts on a weekend, and you can build him, it's a lot of freaking conditions, then Strays is niche useful. And I'll get some pushback on this, because everyone's like, every single one-shot guide you put out there uses Strays. I'm like, yeah, that was all in a pre-Rift, pre-quick battle world. Now his values drop down to almost just flexing at this point. Sylvan Sage Vivian is a solid unit. I have seen sometimes her on defense, but she's mostly an RTA unit, and that's pretty much it. Top model Lilica is an RTA unit, not really used. Kayron is... There was a time when he was arena viable, but that time is going away, especially with the advent of Mort. This is an RTA unit, occasional Guild War offense teams, but not enough to warrant being placed on the tier list. Zeo is, Zeo I think is worthy in Arena and Guild Wars, especially with Harsetti to be up in the Guild War meta. Not a lot of other PvE uses for Zeo. Angel of Light Angelica has some niche uses. She can be used to one of the easiest ways to beat the Hell Queen. If you're going for a Nightmare Hell Queen team and you don't want to do the auto team, Angel of Light Angelica is a must-have unit for that. Cartusia is not a real unit. Sid is not a real unit. Kali's not a real unit. Alots used to be up here, but they're nerfing him, and now he's not going to be usable anywhere in the game. Bad Cat Armin's not usable. Broman is got some defense uses. Blaze Dingo. I'm going to put Blaze Dingo down here in the niche uses, and the reason why is Blaze Dingo is one of the only solo carry units for friendship farming and pushing stages where your damage carries from stage to stage. Dingo can heal your team and give defense breaks, so he's actually one of the better farming units for a lot of these side story events where your damage carries over stage to stage. He can help keep you healthy. So I do think he does have some niche uses, but it's a really tiny ass niche. BBK is one of the best Guild War defense and offense units, best units in the game. I would come close to say she is the meta. She is the best unit in the game right now. I've used her to clear the ads on Golem and on A13 on to you know, help set up my one shots. So she does have some uses outside of it. You can use her to solo auto tower. You turn her skills off and just let her S1 everything to death. It's not fast, but it's kind of hilarious. Celestial Mercedes, not a real unit. CDOM. There is a weird niche use, and I'll put her right beside Ainz, because CDOM can be used to cheese the Queen, to one-shot the Nightmare Queen with CDOM, and I just gotta have them together, because Ainz needs to have a job, and it's a funny job, so we'll leave them on here, but really, these two, that's the only place they're used, is in that Nightmare Cheese. In good conscience, with what I've said about some of these units, I should move both of them down, but it's just such a fun combo, and I love CDOM and I love Ainz, so I'm putting them on the list. Go make your own list if you don't like it. Champion Zerato is still a very solid, diverse unit. He is good in Labyrinth, he's good in A13. You will find uses for him early on. He's wholly replaceable as you get to higher levels, but there are so many things in PvE that throw debuffs at you that a self-healing unit that counterattacks on debuff is always going to find uses. Crescent Moon Rin has one use and one use only, and that's to steal the counterattack buff so you can do the Yufine Labyrinth. It's a singular cheese, but it's an important one because ancient coins give you access to charms, and everybody wants that. I want to talk about Crimson Armin last because I'm annoyed by her. Fighter Maya, not a real unit. There is one... it's almost as niche as the Ainz version. There's one version where Fighter Maya one-shots, but God, it's so painful to do it. I just don't recommend it. Free Spirit Tieria is the best PvE unit out there because she lets you auto-farm Gray's Field and Eulogy for a Saint for gold, and Charms. She lets you auto-farm Unrecorded History for catalysts and gold. She lets you farm and clear through a lot of story. She is integral to a Banshee 13 one-shot. She's integral to a clearing your adventure. She's usable in just about every floor of Abyss. You know what? I don't even think it's arguable anymore. She has supplanted Spectre Tenebria as the queen of PvE. And she's free! General Purgus has one niche use left, and that is as a Wyvern 13 frontline, and that use has been completely eliminated by having Mui on the team, so it's hard to even mention him down here. As soon as you get Mui, this guy goes down here. Alright, you gotta be the luckiest unlucky person in the world to have G-Perg before you have Mui. I think Deity, on Deity's new account when he was trying to build his Wyvern team, he got like 2 or 3 General Purguses and never got Mui, and that's kind of hilarious in how ridiculously backwards it is. So I'll leave him here, right? Great Chief Kuana has one use, and that is making C13 easier to farm, and she goes away as soon as you get half a dozen other units, but we'll go ahead and leave her in here for... She's kind of like in the position of General Purgus. Once you get a different unit, she's completely replaceable. Guider Aether really has no use anymore, which is sad. Inferno Kawazu really has no use in PvE anymore. She is niche usable on arena defenses. Kitty Clarissa is always going to have uses in PvE, although most of those have slid down to just Abyss right now. Her biggest use was right here with Conqueror Lilias for in Hall of Trials, but she is a unit who dual attacks with the highest attack unit, much like Phantom Politis. She's got a strip on her S2, she's got a cleanse on her S3. I think you will find uses for her, and it's always worth having a kitty in your back pocket. Last piece, Corinne's not usable in PvE. Dominial used to be pretty popular on Guild War defenses, but she's fallen off. Furious, maybe after his buff, we'll see some use. Right now, he's probably the worst 4-star in the game, right beside Leo, who is also the worst 4-star in the game. Shadow Rose has got one use, and it's really, really good, and that's in Banshee 13 one-shot. She doesn't really have any other uses in the game, but she makes Banshee 13, one shot, 98% success rate, which is as closest to 100% you can get without being on endgame gear. Shooting Star Arcades, we'll put right down here beside Crescent Moon Rin, right? Her only real use is in setting up the Labyrinth. The Labyrinth cheese with Yufine to get ancient coins. Sinful Angelica, I think Sinful Angelica, I think she might be a top PvE use, guys. An attack buff with raise block, so many Guild War offense uses, especially against meta units like Janua, and she is in just about every Wyvern one-shot video that's out there, and she is got a dual attack with the highest attack unit. She's going to be useful in a lot of Abyss floors. I think it's safe to put her up here in top PvE uses. You get a I like her so much I have 3 of them built. No cap, 3 of them built for various uses. 1 for PvE and the other 2 for Guild Wars, and the reason I have 2 for Guild Wars is in case one dies, I have a backup. That's how good she is. Tempest Surin's not really usable right now. Troublemaker Crozet. I can't think of any PvE usage where Crozet is meta. He's good, but is he really any better than any other knight? Yeah, I don't think so. Divines will be mad at me, but I don't think Crozet has a place. Sid definitely doesn't have a place. Watcher Shuri. Watcher Shuri for one-shots. Right? For speed tuning and damage on one-shots. And that's pretty much it. Wanderer Silk, dual attacks with the highest attack unit and CR manipulates. She is actually really, really good in a lot of PvE. She can help you tune your one-shots for Golem and for Asmanic. And you can CR push back the enemy to control them in Abyss. And she's a nice speed imprint. Oh, Armin. What do we do with Armin? She used to be all over Guild War defenses, but not so much anymore.
Crozet and bad divine will never recover.
Right. Okay, we had one shout out for Inferno Kawazu for Ancient Inheritance. That's a niche use that only happens once every 3 to 5 months. And that's pretty much it. I just don't think that's enough to consider. I'm not considering Ancient Inheritance for general use PvE. It's too few and far between. Crimson Armin, though. There's a time when she was on just about every arena defense, but the meta has shifted into a Harseti world and to an Ilynav world where her uses have fallen away quite a bit there. And as for PvE, there are some Abyss floors where she can keep you going when you normally would be dead, but I don't think there's any real place for her in PvE anymore, guys. Not really, really. So there you go. I think that's about it, guys. You will notice the vast majority of 4-star units are not usable in PvE. Sorry. You'll notice the vast majority of ML4 and ML5 units are not usable in PvE, and if you consider Guild Wars and Arena PvP, it's the vast, vast majority of them. Why is that? Because ML5 and ML4 units are by nature designed for PvP. It's by intention. When a unit is usable in PvE, it's almost always an accident, right? It's like this guy was designed for RTA and Guild Wars and Arena. He just found some niche uses as a cleanup farmer. This guy was designed for PvP. We just figured out how to one-shot with them. This girl was designed for PvP. We just figured out we could strip the Nightmare Queen with her. Even Shadow Rose was designed initially. Back in the day, she was the opener. If you didn't have Shadow Rose, you didn't get to complete in Arena. She was designed for that. Now she's only used in PvE because the metas move past her. So a lot of these are has-beens, right? Used to be meta in PvP, used to be meta in PvP, used to be meta in PvP, used to be meta in PvP. Not really, but kinda. And then we just found uses in PvE for them because they got power crept out of PvP. But pound for pound, you're going to notice a theme that when ML units come out, ML units are designed for player versus player. RGB units usually find their place in PvE more. It's very rare that we get a unit that's clearly the initial intent and design was for PvE, and looking at this list, I only see 2. And that's Free Spirit Tierra and Kitty Clarissa. I think those are the only units that came out that were ML, where their entire design, entire niche was centered around being used in PvE. I guess Great Chief Koana was kind of designed for Katie's 13. She came out after Katie's came out and everybody complained about how hard it was, and they clearly made her for Katie. So I guess 3 units that are just designed only for PvE. All the other units were initially designed with PvP in mind. We just found ways to use them in PvE. But there you go. For those of you who are not into any form of PvP at all and are looking for what 4 stars might be useful for you, here you go. I hope that helps you guys out. Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that bell, and I will catch you guys next time. Take care, Epic 7.